everyone, and welcome to my February Recent Reads wrap-up. February ended up being an unexpectedly really busy month for me, so I didn't actually manage to read that many books, but in saying that, I did manage to complete 28 graphic novels in 28 days. So what I'm going to go through today is some of the books that I did manage to read and really enjoy, and then also some of my favourite comics. So let's get into it. I'm going to start very quickly with the book that I reread, and that was The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, because I had to reread this one for the Chaos Walking read along, and I will actually leave a link up above to our live show where we did the full discussion with everybody about what everybody thought about this book and everything else. We had a really good chaotic time and we laughed a lot and had a really good discussion about this book, so I'll leave a link to that up above so you can check it out for yourself. But for me personally, I did really enjoy this book. I really enjoyed the noise, I really enjoyed Todd as a main character, as well as Viola. I also really loved just exploring more of this world and unravelling the mystery of Prentice Town, all of this kind of thing, and I generally thought it was absolutely brilliant and I loved it, and now I cannot wait to continue on with this series and see where it's going to go next, because that cliffhanger absolutely got me and I need to know what's going to happen next quite desperately. The other book I managed to read was Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear. This is by Shauna Maguire and it's the latest one in the Wayward Children series, and this time we are following Nadia, who is a brand new character for the series, as she lands in her world, and her world is an underwater world, and I found it really fascinating. I really loved the exploration of what it meant to be in this underwater world. I really liked the people of this underwater world. I also really loved Nadia's storyline throughout here as well, especially with the discussions it had around prosthetics and how Nadia didn't want a prosthetic because she does have a limb difference, and how she was like, that's just me, I do not want a prosthetic or anything else, and I really enjoyed that conversation that was throughout here. I also really enjoyed the conversations this had around adoption and things like this. Obviously I cannot speak to how well those two conversations were done as someone who is not adopted and does not have a limb difference, but to me I thought they were done quite sensitively, but obviously please consult Own Voices reviewers for those topics. But generally I did really like this one, and my only real complaint about this was that it was too short, because it's a novella, and to be honest, for me most novellas are too short because I just want more from the world and more from the characters and everything else, which I think is a sign of a good novella. So generally I did really like this one, and my only real complaint was that it was too short. Then onto the comics. The first thing I want to quickly mention is Falcon and the Winter Soldier Cut Off One Head by Derek Landy. This is a reread for me, but it was still no less fun than it was the first time round. If you love Sam and Bucky's relationship that they have in the MCU, you will definitely really enjoy this one, because it definitely reflects that chaotic feeling that those two have, while also telling a really fun story. The artwork in here is absolutely fantastic. If I can find a bit that doesn't look too violent, in case violence is not your thing, that also features Sam and Bucky. There you go. So the artwork looks like this on the inside. It explores the fact that both of them were Captain America at one point and what that means. Then also like dealing with Hydra, all of this kind of thing. And also you see a lot of Alpine, who is Bucky's kitten. So if you are a fan of kittens as well, and Bucky Barnes, you cannot go wrong with reading this one. And it was just generally a really fun time, and I really enjoyed myself reading this once again. I also reread Nick Spencer's Sam Wilson Captain America run, and unfortunately this was as timely as it was when it was first written in 2016 at the time of the first Cheeto presidency. It is definitely a very good look into talking about the police state, police brutality, as well as police profiling people of colour who have done absolutely nothing wrong. It's also talking about Fox News and how they are twisting things, corrupt government officials. It's also about racism and general bigotry. You've also got talking about people crossing the Mexican border into America, all of this kind of thing. It is very relevant storyline wise and what it's talking about to the first Cheeto presidency, and unfortunately it's still very timely to this day. I think it was very well done and very well researched, especially considering this was written by a white man. I do feel like he did a very good job of discussing these topics sensitively. He had definitely done his research into all of this, and I think he did a very good job with it. I do think it is definitely well worth the read, especially especially if you are a fan of Sam Wilson being Captain America. I do think it was done very, very, very well. But unfortunately, it was still very, very timely to the world that we are living in, and unfortunately that was, quite frankly, really depressing. I really wish we had moved on, but apparently we haven't. But there we go. Anyway, it's still a very, very, very good run, and definitely something worth checking out if you are a fan of Sam as Captain America. And even if you're not, I still recommend it because it is a very, very good run talking about racism, politics, standing up for what you believe in, all of this kind of thing. I think it was done very, very, very well, and do definitely think it is well worth the read. I then also read Tochi Onyebuchi's Captain America, Symbol of Truth, Sentinel of Liberty and Cold War, and this sees Sam and Steve as Captain America concurrently, and what happens when they uncover a shadow organisation that has been controlling the world for the last 100 odd years, and what happens when Bucky joins them, and now Sam and Steve have to team up together to try and stop him, and what happens when both of them see different ways of stopping him, and how they are actually going to do it and stop them from taking over the world and changing everything. It all goes from there, and it is absolutely fantastic. I really, really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed the dynamics that we had between the three characters and everybody else who was involved. I really enjoyed as well how this delved more into the mythology of Captain America as well, and what that means, and the things hiding in plain sight with some of the symbolism around Captain America, all of this kind of thing. I thought it was absolutely brilliantly done, and I absolutely loved it. It was definitely some of my favourite comics that I read this month. I then also read The Restaurant at the Edge of the World. This is by Oliver Gerlach. I apologise if I mispronounced that. And this is a fantasy world, and we are focusing on the people working in a kitchen, and this young girl here who is trying to take on her evil boss, who has been essentially bullying and blackmailing everybody in the kitchen and in the area, and pretending he is this hotshot chef, and she is trying to beat him in a cooking competition to gain control of the restaurant because she doesn't like the way he is doing things and doesn't believe it is fair. And I really, really like this one. I loved what it had to say about standing up for what you believe in and trying to do the right thing and trying to be a nicer person, all of this kind of thing. I thought it was done wonderfully. The artwork in here is also really nice as well. It looks like this on the inside. I loved everything it had to do with like making the menu and everything else. I thought that was done very, very well. I really liked it as well that it was a queer normative world, and I generally really, really liked this one and really, really enjoyed myself reading it. I then also read the first 2 volumes in Ascendance of the Bookworm, and this is a manga series which is a really sort of cozy, semi-fantasy type thing. We are following a young woman who died in a book avalanche and is woken up in a completely different world in the body of a 4-year-old girl, and discovers that there are no books in this world, or there are books but it is only for the rich and no one else in around her in her village can read. And she decides that she's going to try and recreate the written word, recreate pages and recreate books, and it is a really fun, really sweet, cozy read. I really love that it is a love letter to the written word and readers in general, and I just generally really, really like this one. Like I said, I've read the first 2 volumes, really, really enjoyed both of them, and I now cannot wait to continue on with this series. And then the final thing I want to mention today is Lavender Clouds, comics about neurodivergence and mental health, and this was done so well. It was 100% a new favourite of mine because it was done brilliantly and so relatably, because this is exactly what it says on the tin. It is a series of short comics about what it means to be neurodivergent and to have bad mental health, and it was done so well. I love the art style on this one as well, I should say, but I loved how relatable this was. I loved how well it was done. It was so sensitively done, and I just genuinely really enjoyed it. I loved every single second of reading this one, and I cannot recommend it enough, especially if you are neurodivergent or if you do have those bad mental health days, because this is so relatable, but also somehow really comforting as well, because it makes you feel like you're not alone, which I think is something very important, and I just generally really liked this one. And that is everything I wanted to mention for this wrap up. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me if you've read any of these, I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a cloud emoji down below to let me know that you were here. And also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is filled with all things Captain America right now, if you want to check that out. I'll also leave a link as well down below to my Notion template website as well, if you want to organise organise your life via Notion this year, or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!